Xerathian Cadet Corps was the pride of the Empire, a shining assembly of the galaxy's most promising young warriors, bred for conquest and trained to bring order to lesser worlds. Their skin shimmered in shades of silver blue, their eyes glowed faintly in dim light, and their minds connected seamlessly through the neural web that unified their thoughts. For centuries, the Xerathians had conquered dozens of species with efficiency and precision. They studied their targets, learned their weaknesses, and subdued them without ever needing to understand their emotions. To them, empathy was a primitive glitch in the biological code, a relic of species that had yet to ascend. That was, until they discovered Earth. The humans were not the most technologically advanced civilization in the galaxy. They lacked the neural networks, quantum armor, or adaptive drones of the Xerathians. But their planet had something else, something that baffled and unsettled the Empire's high command. They called it the human spirit. At arrival at the observation deck, Cadet Keres Val stood among 50 others in the vast auditorium aboard the training cruiser Zenith's Bay. The deck curved around a massive holographic display, a suspended sphere of swirling blue and green, marked with continents, oceans, and countless scars of conflict. World designation, Earth, announced Commander Veklar, his voice resonating through the cadets' neural implants. Subject species, human. Classification, type 0.7 civilization. Tribal instincts intact. Emotional volatility, extreme. A ripple of disdain passed through the recruits' shared link. To them, a type 0.7 species was barely out of infancy. Commander Veklar extended a clawed hand. The hologram shifted, displaying centuries of human development in a cascade of visuals. Pyramids, empires, ships, wars. Our analyst proposed Earth as the next potential site for occupation, Veklar continued. However, the High Council has ordered an evaluation before invasion approval. You will be the observers. Your task, study their warfare, learn their psychology, report your findings. The lights dimmed. The first images appeared. The first lesson, fire and iron. The cadets expected to see primitive combat, sticks, stones, maybe small-scale tribal violence. What they saw instead made several of them twitch in confusion. The projection displayed aerial footage from World War I. Men in trenches, smoke rising across desolate fields, machines roaring like monsters of metal. Bullets rained from unseen clouds. Explosions ripped the ground apart. Humans screamed, charged, fell, and rose again. "What is this?" whispered Cadet Liren, her voice uncertain. "They fight without energy shields. No armor. They charge into death willingly." Keres tilted his head. Primitive, yet relentless. Commander Veklar nodded. This was called the Great War. 20 million dead. The first war of the Industrial Age. The images shifted again. World War II. Cities burning. Bombers blotting out the sky. Soldiers fighting in ruins. A mushroom cloud consumed an entire landscape. A blinding sun birthed by human hands. The recruits recoiled as the shockwave thundered through the auditorium speakers. Detonation. Nuclear fission, Veklar said calmly. A weapon of mass eradication. Energy output equivalent to 100 million tons of standard-grade thermite. Keres's jaw tightened. They used it on themselves. They did, the commander replied. Twice. The history of madness. The recordings spanned centuries. The Crusades, the Napoleonic Wars, the Cold War, the Vietnam jungles, the endless Middle Eastern conflicts. The cadets watched in growing silence as human ingenuity intertwined with destruction. They saw cities rebuilt only to burn again. They watched humans create art, music, and medicine, only to invent deadlier weapons days later. How can a species capable of compassion also be capable of this? murmured Liren. They evolve through conflict, said another cadet. Awayenda, his voice trembling slightly. Pain is their catalyst. Commander Veklar clasped his hands behind his back. Precisely. Humanity thrives in adversity. Their innovation is fueled by suffering. When peace reigns, their progress slows. But when threatened, they become monsters of creativity. The next footage displayed human space programs, fragile crafts breaking the atmosphere, reaching for the stars despite impossible odds. They left their gravity well, Veklar said softly, with primitive combustion engines, using vessels thinner than our skin armor. Many perished in vacuum. But they continued. The recruits exchanged uneasy thoughts through the neural link. For the first time, fear crept into the collective mind. The simulation. To test the recruits' understanding, Veklar initiated a war simulation using real human tactics. The cadets were divided into teams and tasked to subdue a virtual human resistance on a simulated Earth. At first, the Xerathians assumed it would be effortless. Their drones, superior weaponry, and psychic coordination gave them every advantage. Then the humans in the simulation adapted. They improvised, setting traps, feigning surrender, attacking from shadows. They sacrificed entire units just to expose a single vulnerability. One by one, the Xerathian squads were overrun, their perfect coordination disrupted by the humans' chaotic unpredictability. In the neural space, Keres felt the simulated agony of death again and again. The humans refused to break. They would rather die than yield. By the end of the session, the casualty ratio was Xerathians 78%, humans 22%. Commander Veklar stood silently as the simulation faded. This, he said, is what happens when logic meets madness. The human's greatest weapon is their unpredictability. You cannot anticipate those who value death as much as victory. The Forgotten Wars. On the second day, the recruits were shown human documentaries, not just battles, but memories. Soldiers hugging families, nurses tending to the wounded, survivors rebuilding shattered cities. They saw children laughing in bombed-out streets, soldiers sharing rations with former enemies, humanity's bizarre ability to forgive, and to fight again the next day if needed. Keres found himself deeply disturbed. They don't fear death, he whispered to Liren. They fear insignificance. Every war, every act of defiance. It's as if they're screaming that they matter. Liren's usually serene eyes dimmed. And if we invade, we'll face that scream ourselves. Later that night, the cadets linked into their shared neural chamber, where private thoughts became public murmurs. Doubt spread through the link like a virus. Perhaps they should not be conquered. They destroy themselves enough. Why add to it? If they ever unite, what would they become? Keres disconnected from the network, something strictly forbidden during training, and stared out the viewport at the distant blue planet. It rotated slowly, serene from afar, disguising the chaos within. They are fragile, he muttered. Yet they endure. Again and again,